There was a period in time when Capcom wasn't doing too well. Devil May Cry 4 didn't do so well, and DMC Devil May Cry left fans disappointed and with a bleak vision for what the future could hold for one of their dearest franchises. Asura's Wrath is a controversial game, one that is loved by many because of its visual spectacle and the sheer scale and scope of the events that take place in the game. However, due to a very lackluster gameplay experience, the game ended up selling poorly and it is now no more than a title forgotten by most. Dragon's Dogma ended up doing well surprisingly, but even Capcom's giants Resident Evil and Street Fighter weren't in too good of a shape. Capcom wasn't in such a good place in the beginning of this decade. However, it seems that things might have taken a bit of a twist last year or so. It all started with Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. The different approach that the developers took to the horror genre ended up making this game a hit amongst fans of the survival horror genre, and even though the game took a different direction than what made the Resident Evil series so special, the game was still able to please longtime fans. Resident Evil 7 has garnered an 86 critic review score and a 7.9 user review score, and this was a sign of good things that were to come from Capcom in the upcoming years. Later in the same year, during the E3 presentation, we got to see Monster Hunter World for the very first time. The game that went on to become Capcom's best-selling game, having sold over 12 million copies worldwide by the end of 2018. Changes such as creating environmental spaces that are fully connected and removing the zones that were necessary for the PlayStation 2 and handheld games, more advanced monster AI and physics to create seemingly living ecosystems that could be taken advantage of during hunts, a more persistent cooperative multiplayer experience, and a refinement of the game's user interface, menu systems and tutorials allowed for the Monster Hunter franchise to expand way beyond its niche in the West and become the AAA title that went on to be nominated for Best Game of the Year in 2018, even though it was released in the very first month of the year. Monster Hunter World then received a score of 90 by critics and a 7.6 user review score. For someone like me who is a longtime fan of the series and has been playing for well over a decade now, seeing Monster Hunter being recognized by mainstream media makes me feel very happy for the series. Monster Hunter World is now my favorite game of all time, and it will continue to expand with different updates by adding new monsters including creatures from other franchises such as Final Fantasy and the Witcher series. The game will be getting its first paid expansion, Iceborne, later this year, and I simply cannot wait for it to come. And with Monster Hunter World marking the beginning of a new golden age for Capcom, we then come to 2019. It's the beginning of March and Capcom has already released 2 Game of the Year contenders. I am of course referring to the remake of Resident Evil 2 and Devil May Cry 5. Both of these games were very well received by the general public, with Devil May Cry 5 receiving an 87 critic review score and an 8.3 user review score, and with Resident Evil 2 receiving a 90 critic review score and an 8.8 user review score. With such highly acclaimed titles, Capcom has managed to raise the bar even higher, and now we can expect many great things to come in the future. Dragon's Dogma is getting a Netflix show and is also being ported to the Switch, so this could potentially be marketing for a Dragon's Dogma sequel, so that is something to watch out for. Fighting games still need a bit of polish as Street Fighter V wasn't well received and the game was recently found in the middle of a microtransaction scandal. That being said, this trend of high quality releases further solidifies Capcom as a top dog in the industry. Resident Evil 2 and DMC5 are likely to be seen as Game of the Year nominees, and it wouldn't surprise me if Monster Hunter World's Iceborne expansion ends up being nominated as well, but I would like to see Capcom take a few more risks and be creative and experimental, as all of these titles are part of decade-old franchises, and a brand new intellectual property with this level of quality would shake the gaming world and could possibly inspire other publishers and developers to try something new. We are now in the golden age of Capcom, and I cannot wait to see what they can come up with in the future. Cheers Capcom, and thank you for all of these great games. Big shout out to all of my patrons who choose to support me in helping me keep this channel alive. As many of you guys know, I am a university student, so your financial support is what allows me to keep making videos. If you would like to support me and see your name here at the end of the video, just like these beautiful individuals, especially Jeff Baxter for going Plus Ultra, then head on over to my Patreon, the link to it is down below in the description. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, my name is DarkHero, and happy hunting!